Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche organization with your daily video update for May 5th, 2025. Today I'm going to be focusing on the offensive being run by the war hawks, especially in the three hotspots right now: Ukraine, Southwest Asia, and increasingly the India-Pakistan confrontation. Now, what's important is to recognize that there are two aspects of the situation which are making it more unstable. One is the fact that the City of London is moving to do anything it can to prevent the normalization of U.S.-Russian relations out of fear that the stabilization between Russia and the United States will mean a successful move out of the existing unipolar order dominated by the City of London and the tradition of the imperial geopolitical faction that's dominated politics since the end of the Second World War. They don't want that to change. It's a looting, predatory operation that served them well. And the Trump election in 2016 disrupted it. They vowed to never let it happen again. Trump won again in 2024, especially around his pledge to work with countries to avoid war. So what do we see? Well, in Ukraine, the problem with ending that war is with Zelensky, but not Zelensky alone. It's with the Europeans insisting that the war continue. And what this means is their effort to disrupt U.S.-Russian relations. Zelensky has threatened the possibility of attacking the victory commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the victory over fascism. Now, why would the Europeans not want to celebrate the victory over fascism? Well, because one of the major forces in that was the Soviet Army. And the Soviet Army was allied with the United States. And now you have Russia and the United States again moving toward an alliance, and it breaks up the geometry of the empire of the City of London and Wall Street. And so you have Zelensky threatening a possible attack on the celebration. The European Union has insisted that European leaders not go to Moscow. The U.S. is offering more weapons to Ukraine, although it's unclear exactly what's going to happen with that. And in Germany, where you have a peace party, the Alternative for Deutschland, it was just identified as an extremist organization, which could lead to moves to ban it, even though it's the most popular party in the polls. So, ironically, the so-called democratic forces of the European Union are moving to stop peace, stop normalization of relations, and in support of an outlaw regime with a president who's not even a president anymore, backed by militia units that are neo-Nazis tied to the Azov Battalion, the Bandera movement, and so on. So what's necessary here is more from Trump to identify clearly what he wants. And if he wants peace, he's got Witkoff, who can meet with Putin. They're moving in that direction, but you can see why the British in particular, Starmer and then Macron from France, are moving to disrupt it. Now then you have the India-Pakistan situation. Most important there is that the attack on the tourists in Kashmir is being blamed on Pakistan. The Pakistani foreign minister said this is the kind of operation run by third parties to disrupt normal relations. And he specifically mentioned the British. This is something we've pointed out for many, many years, that the volatile situation there was set up in the same way the British set up the Middle East and the Indian subcontinent, where you have difficulty defining peaceful relations. You have different religions, tribes, ethnic groupings. It's an ideal playground for British geopolitics. And remember, the South Asia the Central Asia is the cockpit that was the great game for many, many years. So there's a move toward military confrontation. India is a member of the BRICS. Pakistan has friendly relations with China. It's an ideal situation for the British to move in to disrupt it. Then you have the Iran situation. Now, this is interesting because Trump's removal of Mike Waltz as his national security advisor is an important move. Waltz is an Iran hawk. He wants to go to war with Iran. Why he was brought into the cabinet in the first place is a bit of a mystery. He was the counter-terror advisor to Dick Cheney. Now, everyone knows the Cheney family's relationship with Donald Trump, that they've done everything they can to undermine his standing in the Republican Party. Why bring in an operative who's part of the Cheney machine, who's a war hawk? Well, it was good he's removed, but the question now remains, who's going to dominate U.S.-Iran policy? Will it be Vance? Will it be Marjorie Taylor Greene, who issued a call for MAGA to get behind Trump in avoiding war? Or will it be the Israel lobby, the Zionist lobby, which is demanding a war against Iran? So this is reflecting a fight within the Trump administration. And in particular, besides Waltz, the other person who's a problem on this is Marco Rubio. And then you have the China question. Rubio is also an anti-China hawk. Elbridge Colby, the number 3 man in the Defense Department, is a historic operative against U.S.-Chinese relations. You have this tariff policy targeting China based on the idea that China is weak economically and can be brought down now. Just in the same way they're saying Iran is weak because of Israel's attack on the so-called axis of resistance. So you have these hotspots. Who benefits from confrontations in these hotspots? Certainly not the people in these countries. There is an alternative, a way to get to peace, which is what the motion of the BRICS countries represents. It's the LaRouche solution, which includes the Oasis Plan for the Middle East. It includes bringing Ukraine as a neutral country into an alliance with the Belt and Road Initiative, and resolving the China-Taiwan question by recognizing that China has been a force for economic development, and instead of being punished for that, they should be encouraged to cooperate with Western countries. Now, the problem is not China. The problem is the West. The trade imbalance was set up by the City of London, Wall Street, the World Economic Forum, the World Trade Organization, not the Chinese. They just figured out how to benefit from it. So each of these situations, each of these hotspots could be resolved if there were a commitment to mutually beneficial relations. I think this is what President Trump wants, but he's surrounded by hawks, surrounded by people who are stuck in the old paradigm and who think if the United States is not the sole hegemon, the United States will lose all its power and economic wealth. Now, it's going to be lost if you go into these wars. The U.S. is now an outcast along with Israel for most of the rest of the world, and the Europeans are just dragging themselves along with it, with unpopular governments. There's not a single government in Europe that has over 50% popularity, except for Viktor Orban in Hungary, who they're trying to overthrow. So the clarity has to come from principle. That's why I'm going to be attaching again Helga Zepp-LaRouche's fundamental principles for a new development and security architecture. Read them, study them, and recognize that clarity is what's going to be needed. And the clarity is to work for mutually beneficial economic relations, and from that you can resolve the so-called military confrontations. And that's the way we have to approach the world today. And that's what our conference will be about on May 24th and 25th. And I'll have an attachment to register for that in the description.